Welcome to Google AI Skills House. And I know you all are really excited and moving forward to learning a lot today. So, without further ado, let me just tell you. My name is Ayush. I'm going to be the host for the evening. And let me just bring on the stage the number one, the one and only. He is Venkat Subramanian, Senior Product Manager of Google Research.
I don't know whether I can match that energy, but I'll try to disappoint you in new ways. Hi, I'm Venkat. I'm a Senior Product Manager at Google Research. Why we are here, Google has this ambitious mission of enabling 10 million Indians with AI skills across different age groups, job seekers, students, and professionals. And over the next 1.5 to 2 hours, me, along with Rajat, our customer engineer from Cloud, and Nikita, who works with some of our largest ads customers, will take you on this nice journey of dissecting user problems, how we're actually enabling some of these so that when you get out of this room, after Ayush's energy, you have something actionable that you can do at work. I assume most of you are startups, founders, technologists, non-technologists. How many non-tech founders? Raise of hands. Technologists who code? Coding is good, things are changing fast. Amazing. So one of the first questions generally I get asked is, what do I do at Google? So I'm part of Google Research, actual research house, wherein we develop some of the foundational technologies that powers our Google products. What I do personally is I'm a PM lead for speech and language algorithms group, and I also look at some of the inference optimizations for AI ML. So like the way, all these LLM models, how do you actually serve it at scale? One actionable thing you would have seen in Google Maps, when you're using some of the place names will both be in English and Hindi or in local languages. So the transliteration is supported by my group. And similarly, if you do voice search on any of Google search, that's also supported by my group. So what we're going to do here is, essentially, if you see the title of the thing is solving for user problems, that's what one site does, and the AI era, which I think everyone knows about it. So this happened just a couple of weeks back. I was in Las Vegas, and does anyone know what this is? Yeah, and I was roaming around in the night along the strip, and it was pretty amazing in terms of, and next day I ended up watching this Darren Aronofsky's Postcards from the Earth. And it was a mind-boggling experience. This is one of the largest high-def screens in the world. And Darren has done this 18K resolution, which blows your mind, and you feel everything inside as you sit. The shakes was literally trembling, and sometimes you get this gust of wind. And next day, I learned that Google Cloud actually has enabled the Wizard of Oz movie in this. And just to give you an idea of scale, like the way I say, my forehead extends from the top of, till the back of my neck, was, like that. The screen actually literally goes to the back. So it was pretty amazing experience, and this was opportune because as I was preparing for this audience, it gave me a lot of inspiration in terms of what media, entertainment, and gaming could actually enable, with AI and other things. And as with any technology that we have seen in the last 10, 15 years, many people discount technology as it starts, right? But the long-term consequences of these technology are pretty amazing. Mobile people discount it, but now you see it's something that's staple for us. So that's the way we look at technology as well. We shape technology, but the user feedback loop changes the technology as well as we learn, right? So I think you as founders have a very big gap on transitioning users across this technology gap as such. For the technologists here, this is a very simple function call, right? It's a very simple thing. What it does is it predicts given a text along few parameters and output. But what this has done is, in the last couple of years, because of the advent of AI, multi-billion-dollar industries have become simplified. You can do summarization, classification, having a search, dialogue, everything with a very simple function call. There's more to it, but I'm just simplifying it. And everything resides on what goes into this prompt, the ellipses that you see, right? And in this session, our top of mind is how do we delight our customers? And when I talk about customers, essentially content consumers, how do they experience some of these content and technology? And if you are helping out the media producers, how do you actually help? So I'm segmenting these users both in terms of content consumers and also if you're developing technology for the media producers, how do we enable them? Right? And it's actually pretty interesting because we are living in the era of multiplexing, right? Things are changing, technology is changing, business models are evolving, and consumer behavior is evolving as such. And as you think about the S-curve, traditional S-curve as it goes and it tapers off after some time, interesting thing in AI is the technology curves, as in what if you remember 1 year back there was this golden retriever with wings, a very famous video that got done, and it was very pixelated and whatnot. Now you see it's pretty 8K resolution and whatnot, and it's only evolving on the Gen AI side. So the way we can think of technology curves is the gap between these for AI as such is happening at a very fast pace. Things are changing a lot. We are learning a lot at Google Research, and we are actually enabling our products as well to succeed for our users. So again, as founders or even as professionals, generally when you develop products, you think either we go deep into a particular niche and you develop capabilities, or you develop a platform. Right? That's the classic T curve. If you're a product manager as well, the classic T is like, how deep do you go? If you think in terms of LLMs, essentially, when you have a large language model, let's say you want to do summarization, the number of concepts that you need to learn is a lot, but the risk associated with this not much. So if you're doing a summarization, the risk is not much, it's pretty easy. But if you're doing something like disease screening, the number of concepts that you have to learn in health is a lot, but the risk associated with it is high. What I mean is user trust. I will keep indexing on user as a central pivot point here, and basically ask you to think more in terms of users, how technology is going to help them. So when you develop many of these AI technologies, not only on content side, but how does the user consume this content? How does the user interact with this content so that the friction points are reduced, but also user develops a trust with your product, right? Similarly, one simple framework, 2x2, everyone knows. Again, I will be giving you some homework in terms of thinking about the problem statement in terms of few vectors so that you can go back and do some homework for your own problem areas, for your own business. Right? Users do many things, from stock trading to getting your utensils cleaned and whatnot. But what is the complexity of this task? Is it simple task? For example, one homework that I would say is stock trading. Is it simple task or is it complex? What goes on into that? And how many times does a user do it? Right? For example, if it's a doctor visit, a user does, generally if you think of a patient or a user, he or she does not go to the doctor pretty often, unless it's a chronic ailment. And similarly, stock trading, how many times does it do? Whereas if you're doing search, if you're doing something on media wherein you have to consume a lot of content, or if you're generating a gaming experience, what exactly is the user trying to do here? Because the number of interactions is quite a lot. And one other way to change the x-axis here is technology, right? You can swap the task in terms of technology. For the user, how do you make a simple or a complex technology seamless, right? Another way to think about it this in terms of, when you're developing products, it's easy to develop too many products and whatnot, right? But how do you monetize? How do you create a business out of it? So in terms of go-to-market, in terms of pricing, also think in terms of whether the operation is a pretty cheap operation to do or is it an expensive one. And cross-correlate this with the earlier slide in terms of how many times the user does it. Because this is going to affect your pricing in terms of low margin and high margin, right? And again, multiple times or once, because if the user does a transaction once, and it's a pretty complex thing, the margins need to be pretty high, so you need to price it suitably. Whereas if the user does it pretty often, the number of interactions. For example, in gaming, every time you don't want to price the user based on the number of keystrokes. I'm just exaggerating the case, but you get the point here, right? And since we are in media and entertainment here, again, I'm dissecting the problem statement in terms of few variables that you can think of, right? Screen sizes have changed a lot just in a decade. What was average screen size was 4.4 inches. It has gone to around 6.7 to 6.8 inches now, right? And even in terms of TV, what was 32 inches like a decade ago, or even 5-6 years ago, now it's 50 inches. The largest TV, at mass production was close to 60-65 inches, and you get 100 inches, really good, top of the line TVs pretty easily now. And again, the way the user behavior has changed because of all these things is pretty amazing, right? Now we consume a lot of content on mobile. And when do you consume content? What is the intent of the user? Does the user want to go and search for, hey, I have this disease ailment, so I need to go and search for it? Or I'm just doing a casual browsing, and that's how my content consumption happens. So understand some of these, and how does the user interact with this media as well? Right? So some of these variables, as you think in terms of your space, funny thing is that in terms of dual screen experiences, it's funny. You have your mobile, but you also see the TV. Right? And also you kind of do some interaction as you consume some content, what is happening in Twitter, right? And you also search in Google and come and do some fancy stuff, ask Gemini, okay, tell me more about this, right? So it's pretty amazing what we are, how the consumer behaviors are evolving and how do we need to think about product. You will hear a lot of things from Rajat after this, in terms of he'll go deeper. into some of these media consumption stories and generation as well. Again, based on the variables, again, I'm using the standard 2 by 2 not to overwhelm you, but just to make a point that the way you dissect your user experience could be along multiple directions, right? For example, you're going back home, you want to watch something. Do you plan it well in advance, or just is it casual, right? And you need to price your subscription model accordingly. How does the user consume, for example, if it's very specific health-based thing? Because the reason I'm taking health is just to show you a spectrum of use cases, how it changes, and apply this for either, let's say you're gamifying health. What is that you can do? Because currently the health consumption model, either you go to a doctor or things, or you do search online wherein there is some amount of trust that you need in terms of what is required, right? You don't want to be presented with surgery or a medication which is not available in India, for example. Right? So you have to be very careful about the user segment that you're targeting and the needs of the user. Languages, accessibility, right? That we'll touch upon later as well. If you're catering to users in remote Latur or somewhere, how do you actually cater to the user in Marathi or in the languages that he or she is responsible for? Right? That's why I work on speech and languages wherein we consume, if you see, we actually type Hindi in Roman characters and English characters. So how do we service those users? We call it as transliteration. So that's what my technology, my team's technology does. Just so that in terms of technology thing, I'm not the developer. I'm just a product manager. There are amazing people, double PhDs and whatnot, who are developing these technologies. So I'm probably the lowest common denominator. Again, think along these lines as a framework as you think about your business. And again, coming back to media, what has LLM or Gen AI given you is a lot of multimodal experiences that were not possible otherwise. Using simple APIs. Gemini 2.5, I'm pretty sure many of you would have tried, is state of the art now. The way you can combine text, audio, and video is pretty mind-blowing. I use Gemini daily on 2 to 3 times, at the bare minimum. Even some of these slides, by the way, were inspired by Gemini in terms of talking points. So, yeah, just setting that as a baseline if you are assessing what I'm talking about. Personalization. This is pretty critical in this era of media consumption, right? You don't want something which is very stoic. You want to have that agent to have a personality. You don't want to talk to a robotic voice and whatnot. How does personality come in? Is what you can develop using, using Gemini and other things. Personalization. It's not just a question of what is interaction that is happening. Can you capture more signals? So as you think of your business, think of how you can capture more signals to give an enriched experience. It's not just, for example, location could be a very interesting thing, right? And so can you actually change the language based on the location of the user? Because you are creating a product for India, and India has lots of accessibility issues, and you would have seen our government doing amazing stuff on the languages side as well. So that's where Google also excels in terms of language support across our interfaces. And predictions. It's not just simple forecasting, right? Now you have amazing rich signals. Now, can you actually help the user in terms of what he or she is going to do, right? It's a radical new way of thinking about all these personalization, personality, and predictions, and which leads to some very interesting use cases. For example, live events. Yesterday, were you there for the music night? How many of you were there for the music night? The experience was mind-blowing. You saw the screens at the back. That reminded me of the Sphere experience. The way it was changing, the way it was actually catering to the user, the music was pretty amazing. Right? So similarly, fan interaction at live events. Imagine, the same conversation in a completely different realm. What does this mean, right? Similarly, in terms of accessibility, I told you languages is a big problem in India. How are you going to address some of these challenges for your products? As you think about content creation, Nikita will be talking a lot on this as well in terms of last mile content. What does this mean? Right? I'm not giving you answers here. I'm asking some questions for you to think about for the Indian audience. And similarly, as technologies progress, what is happening is consumer behaviors as it changed. Can you actually give a much more immersive experience? Yesterday, when I was there in the music night, I was like pretty mind blown in terms of media consumption. Right? I came with it's a music night, but when Shreya Ghoshal sang and she said Apsara Hali, I was like, whoa, right? So think along these dimensions, all this leading to faster time to value, better revenue generation for your business models, and increased market reach for many of these vectors. If I have to give you one word for you to take away as you exit this room is iterations. Iterations is not repetition. Iteration is making progress. Iteration is about everything that you do, changes something in the next thing. Repetition is doing the same thing again and again. And as you know, there's nothing in repetition, it leads to insanity and whatnot. So why is this important is, if you're thinking about the media user, you don't want to iterate in terms of their experience with your product. But if you are generating some hypothesis that you want to beta test for your users, you can iterate very quickly with AI. Right? What was earlier taking you surveys, rooms and other things, you can quickly iterate with the user, even for media producers, right? Does this actually work? And one more capability that has come up is simulations. Can you actually simulate what could be the possibilities here as you think of predictions? So think along this. I would nudge you to think along this a lot for your own products and business. And even at a business scale, does this business strategy change based on that capability? Right? And we have seen this, I'm not saying something new here. I'm already seeing, when I speak to some of the biggest art directors, they're already having an amazing storyboarding experience in the beginning, even before they go and meet the producers and directors, so that they have an amazing story to tell. And they can change dynamically in terms of, okay, what is happening? So the realism or the immersiveness of storyboarding has changed. And this has come to even the production flow, right? Wherein it's not about, post-production used to take so many things. Now you are doing it at there. You can change the lighting right there based on what the background could be, right? Based on the green screen and the lighting, if let's say, this light is not right, I have to change it, or the background needs to be changed. You can do it right on the media flow. And this is not only for the largest media houses. How do we democratize this for many of the influencers and content creators here? That's again one more directions in terms of thinking about not only for media houses, but democratization of creation of this technology, which is happening a lot. And YouTube, as you saw, is at the forefront of many of these things for content creators. And what has happened is, the traditional way of serial thinking, right? You do vision, you decide what your product strategy is, then what is happening, and let's say things are not coming, again you go back, right? But things are changing now. How can you learn faster? And how do you convert that learning to actions? It's not just about learning, right? Learning rate is important. So you are not just reacting or reframing, you're literally transforming your business purely because technology is changing and the users are also changing. And in this journey, I feel AI is one of the best interns or co-pilots or co-creator for many of the media producers. It's an important thing. Creative genius should never be discounted. It has its own place and merits, but technology is also helping them in terms of doing many of these repetitive tasks well. And also, as I said, how do I think about multiple iterations and simulation? As I close, I want to share a simple anecdote. Probably many of you would have read Homer's Odyssey, or I'll just tell you what exactly happened. So this guy, our hero, he wants to go through the Mediterranean, and the seas are pretty rough, and what you see, the bird-like creatures, it's basically, they are called as a siren, siren songs. So sirens are like women with upper body as women, and the bottom is all birds. And they actually sing some mellifluous songs, amazing songs, and they lure these sailors, and they make them crash on the rocks. And so that everyone dies, and the ship just fails and whatnot. But what our hero did was, he actually said to his sailors, hey, tie me down to this mast. And in your ears, I'll pour beeswax. Okay? And I will taper it so that you don't listen anything. And whatever I say, don't listen to me, because now they can't listen because beeswax is there. And let's just do. Why is this important? Our hero wanted to cross the Mediterranean Sea. His objective was, let's go and meet the goal. And whatever distractions are there, I'll still go and with an extreme focus and reach my goal. And this strategy worked. And this is where I would say, in the era of AI, when technologies change, etc., you have to be very clear in terms of what does your user want, how are you catering to your user, clearly, whether the business goals are achieved or not, and what is that you need to change. And acknowledge what's happening, but also be very clear in terms of how you're doing course corrections and whatnot. I have 5 minutes. I can take some questions if you have.
I'm SP Singh, heading the channel operations for ETV Bal Bharat. ETV Bal Bharat kids channels in 12 languages based at Ramoji Film City. So we're getting into the software productions using different softwares of AI, getting the subscriptions done. So Mid-Journey and different softwares for character generation, video generations are there. 2 things basically, getting away from the normal production what we are doing for animation. in what elements the cost reduction can be expected and done. Second thing, when we derive the characters out of AI, obviously it's all the pre-fed machine learning being done. So any precautions to be taken while the copyright of the characters and the IP generation of the characters is being done? Anything which will suggest over a period of time? These two factors I just wish to know, and I will be too happy to get in connect with the right person for my television softwares using Google as one of the tools. So we'll take it forward in the next level.
I'll take two more questions before Rajat enthralls you with what he has.
My name is Gaurav. I run a production house. We are getting into AI. We have got paid clients for AI tools. We use VO2.
Okay.
So thank you for that. But in this country, as I'm saying, television channels, it's very heartening to listen to ETV that they are trying a production lineup with AI, but the laws are very in a gray area. Anyone can come up and show my AI character as themselves, like they can claim that these are we, and we all know Hollywood is not touching AI. So how do you, how can we motivate ourselves?
I think this is a evolving place in terms of policy and whatnot. I don't want to give you what is a company direction and things. I think in terms of content and many of these challenges, trust issues and copyright laws, etc., needs to govern to what is happening on the ground. So I want to index primarily on the user needs here in terms of my pitch. Probably Rajat will take in some of these questions in terms of how this media generation happens. But I feel there's a lot of, technology is also, as I said, keep happening. Technology is changing a lot. So we need to understand what is happening and evolve the policy needs and whatnot.
I'm Ashima. I'm an experience designer. I do spatial design for immersive experiences. So I was wondering, you spoke a lot about iterations and strategizing using AI. And Google has some of the most innovative platforms and tools and techniques that you develop. So I was just wondering, how are you guys using AI, and how are you using it as a part of your process to speed things up, and how are you implementing AI?
See, I can talk about my flow as a product manager. For me, as I said, iterations. What I mean by that is when I propose certain ideas and what is happening, what does a possible product outlook look like, I kind of work with Gemini 2.5 a lot to brainstorm a lot, and also what are the simulations possible. Right, I think on the prompt side, there is a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done as a user for some of these niche. Actually, Rajat will be showing how some of these prompts actually affect what is the developed content as well. Some of these, I think, based on the user needs, what is happening is things are changing. For example, if you're working on media, VO models are pretty state-of-the-art in terms of media generation. Gemini 2.5 does really well on idea generation. Not on the media side, it soon will start looking pretty seamless, but these are some of these things, for example, code. It's pretty big. If you ask a software developer, I'm pretty sure Rajat does it as well. There's a lot of code that also can be, suggested by AI based on your code base. So these are the things I think on UX as a user experience designer. You already have seen so many startups. Just you draw your mockups, and that's it. It just shows you actual interface and it develops code as well. So you as a user experience designer, you can play in a different elevated field in terms of what is possible. Right, and what is available. So we're not just daydreaming, but we also know what the tools are available and how we can actually satisfy the user needs. So the traditional repetitive task, even for media, right, what is repetition is being simplified a lot, automated a lot. So I think more than automated, it's augmented now. Yeah, it does a lot of augmentation that was not available earlier. Last question.
My name is Naveen. I run a communication design company, Old Style. We all know we can see on all your presentations the most cutting edge sectors where you're doing work. Which are the laggard sectors, domains in which you're not really focused, where you're hitting roadblocks which are not on your priority? Curiosity question.
I can talk about some of the opportunities that I see very clearly currently. I think lots of transformations are happening as we speak. I think industry as a whole is acknowledging that this is a technology wave and how we need to cater or transform our business in terms of what is possible. And media, entertainment, gaming, it's changing because it's leveraging the technology. Two other areas that I see changing or has the potential to transform or provide the user with what he or she needs is health and education. And these were thought as laggards, but they are actually adopting for students. How do we actually enable with better AI? I can't actually go into every technology stream, but we are seeing generally, Rajat will again hint on some of these things, and because he works with some of the largest customers, and Nikita will also talk about our ad spends, ads largest customers as well. So Um, I see there's a lot of opportunity. I think as a wave, generally, it goes, initially there's some early adopters. So that's why the classic S curve is very important, right? It begins slowly, but then it catches up. Mobile, as I said, cloud, for example. How many people were doing actually, cloud 15 years back, right? So things have changed. 2004, it was a very different realm. When you talk about cloud, what is this? No one, even API, which is a very simple thing, it was not available then in terms of a platformization. So my nudge to you is think in terms of capabilities that are aiding your products and how you can, as a founder, you can use this. General, as I said, you need to be focused for your business. What are the laggards? I think things are changing. Things are, because technology is changing, business models are evolving. With that, I will close and I will invite Rajat, who is going to enthrall you for the next half an hour or so with some more detailed use cases.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think several questions as Venkat moved out of the stage, right? Content production, there were some questions around copyright, there were questions about what can AI do. That's what we're going to discuss in the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. We'll see what it can do, and we'll see how you can make it happen as well as individuals, as startups, as content creators, as organizations. That's really the intent of the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. As I get started, a little about myself. I'm a customer engineer at Google Cloud. Now, what does that mean? I work with enterprises, organizations, startups, Fortune 100s, Fortune 500s, helping them solve complex technical challenges, building the solution architecture. So that's really a little about myself. What are we going to do in the next 45 minutes? Programming in Python 101. Excited? Well, what's funny, guys? Come on. Okay, take it easy, guys. We're going to move, and that was more, I would have done that about 6 months ago, right? That same slide that you saw. I'd probably teach coding, talk about architectures, and so on and so forth. But for the last 6 months, I have a new sidekick job of being able to be a creator, a content generator, and so on and so forth, right? So essentially, I just have some ideas, and most of the time they're garbled. I write some text, I have a virtual playground, I'm able to produce content at scale, all in a matter of a few seconds or a few minutes, right? We'll focus more on media and entertainment, gaming, broadcasting, because that's what we see the audience today as, and see a few examples of how and what can be done. First things first, the creative landscape, the content landscape, all that we're talking about, in our view, is changing fundamentally and drastically. We'll see how in just a bit. But quickly, anyone here in the audience creates content, whether it's images, videos, a raise of hand? Perfect, very well. Let's say you have to build up a 90-second video. How long do you take to do that? What's the process like? Let's go back 6 months in time, or a year in time. How would you do it? Okay, so client brief, idea, storyboard, where do you shoot, get people, get models, build out everything, pay I don't know how much money, and then come back, stitch it all together, have multiple edits, and move out, right? Let's see how this is changing. A quick example. I did this, and I have no idea about content production. The videos, the images, the audio. Took me about 45 minutes to put all of this together. And right from ideation, right? Absolutely, I had no idea. I'm not a creative brain. I can't think a lot on that left brain side of the world, right? Started with, and we'll see how I did this, of course, but started with asking, the LLM or Gen AI models to tell me what could I put together for a session like this. Gave me ideas, brainstorm, went back and forth, so on and so forth. I liked a few of them, picked up one of it, went ahead, generated a complete storyboard automatically. From there, went ahead, generated images, generated video, mapped that back to the audio, generated the audio. So all of what you saw in this 2-minute video of sorts was completely AI generated, barely about 40 to 45 minutes, and not more than that. So that's what we're talking about, and I think one of the questions in the beginning was, what can AI do? Can do a lot, depends on what we want to do. This, of course, example is on generating creatives, content, media side of the world. A lot more that can be done, and whatever you see today on the slides, as well as what we'd see in execution, is all AI generated. So that's an example of how it's helping me in my flow, my presentations, my discussions. It could write code for you, it could summarize videos, it could, anything that you can imagine, there's a lot that can be done, really, right? Having said that, of course, we looked at this. The creative landscape is changing. Is it? Do you guys think it is? Yes, it is, of course, it is, right? Now, 3 key things that we see, right? One, a few months ago, we would have thought, will Gen AI do anything for me? You were experimenting, there were science experiments, and so on and so forth. But today, it's essential, right? Imagine doing what I did in 45 minutes. It would have taken, I don't know, hours, days, weeks, people costs, so on and so forth. Go ahead, speed up your workflows, reduce your costs for that matter, generate things faster. Maybe you use that in personalization, so on and so forth, right? Various use cases. But point number 1, essential today, right? Point number 2, and Venkat alluded to this right in the beginning as well, right? There's a time about a year ago, so on and so forth. The capabilities were limited to you write some text, you get some text, period. That's about it, right? But today, it's what we call as a multimodal era, which is either of 2 things, right? You put in text, you get in text, you get in audio, you get in video, you get in images. So that's multimodality in generation. Or the other aspect could be, you push in an image, you push in a video or an audio file, and then ask questions, get a summarization, moderate content for that matter as well, create highlights, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the second key thing, which is multimodality. You're no longer limited by this text to text. It's sort of mimicking how humans function as well, right? There's a visual aspect, there's a textual aspect. So that's really where things are getting towards. So that's the second key part. And third, the question was, if there will be a change, now it is, how do we leverage it? That's really the question that we're seeing coming in, right? How do we get started? How do we leverage it? What process, what workflows, how do we do this better, right? That's where things are getting towards. We spoke about briefly, a few of you said that, you must be aware, of course, traditional challenges, multifold cost, time, speed, people, so on and so forth. What you could do now is a lot more instant, whether it's about creating a script for something that you want to generate, or, let's say you're a media house, you want to go ahead and create storyboards, right, into what you want to build out. That would have been, again, a manual time-consuming process. You could build out a storyboard. You could generate the content, of course, that we saw. Translation, dubbing, reformatting, size adapts. You have a landscape video. You want to put it good for mobile, which is portrait. You could do that. And, of course, then maybe hyper-personalization as well, right? Let's say, for instance, you're in the advertising industry, or you advertise as an organization. Maybe today what you would do is create a video, let's say for a shoe that you're launching. Across the board, everyone in the country, everyone across the globe gets the same video. But because now you could leverage generative AI, you could have all your audiences cohorts created. To me, Rajat, who's a techie, 25 to 35, living in Bangalore, what I see as my video for the shoe or the ad should be very different from maybe Venkat, traveling to Vegas, watching movies at the Sphere, and so on and so forth. Very different persona, right? So really hyper-personalized. That's really where you could get towards, right? I'll break it down now. We'll see a few more slides. The next part of it, after about 5 to 8 minutes and 2-3 more slides, is jumping on to seeing how I did this, how you could do this, and seeing through it in action, right? I'll take 3 examples, or 3 industry verticals. Media and entertainment, what can we do there? Broadcasting, what can we do? Gaming, what can we do? Just quick snippets of that. Across the board, right? Like right from your ideation to your brief generation, step number 1, and I might be wrong, I'm not a creator. Right from that step to maybe creating a script, creating a storyboard, conceptualizing it, building a image through out of it, pre-visualization, creating your production assets, creating that content, editing it across languages, dubbing it across multiple scenarios, or completely then finally creating your videos, right? The complete workflow that we're talking about is something that you could leverage GenAI for. And I'll come back to this later, but it's about augmentation, not complete replacement. And we'll see and discuss this further as we go forward as well, right? Gaming, of course, multiple more use cases. You have the virtual worlds that you create in gaming. Again, like several months of effort. Perhaps you could create that and augment it with generative AI, right? Or you have non-playing characters in your games, right? The Age of Empires and so on and so forth. The characters could be created. The assets for the entire game. The audio could be adaptive as well now, right? Again, the same example that we spoke of. Different personas, the way they consume or play the game. You could have different audio, you could have different videos. Probably, something that you saw in Black Mirror where there's alternate scripts in the middle. Perhaps that could happen as well now, right? And the gameplay could be completely personalized. So that's for the gaming side, a few examples. Broadcasting, again, several more things. It could be summarization of something that you already have, right? Or it could be content moderation. Let's say there's a video for about 10 minutes long. You need to, we see that in our movie theaters today, right? Whenever there is something to do with nicotine, alcohol, there's sort of a text towards the bottom. Someone does it manually, but today, push it into a Gen AI model, give the entire video, say, hey, identify these scenes. These are the 10 things that you have to look for. Give me the timestamps, automatically done. So you could moderate your content. You could summarize that. Real-time transcription, something's happening in English, translate it back to Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, so on and so forth. And of course, deliver it across multiple formats, smarter and better. And those are the 3 key industries that we're focusing on today. Some of the use cases there. I'll take a quick pause. Any thoughts, questions? Maybe just 1 or 2 if there are any, and then we'll just quickly move to seeing this in action.
What I'm taking in my AI animations for kids, the emotions also comes and the multiple characters are there in this entire animated character. So can you please give a thought on it that how do we, for a newsreader, it's understood that one language can be translated into many, but when there are multiple characters with their emotions involved, will your software be useful? Number 1. Number 2, characters generation, how does the consistency of characters work out? The same hero should appear the same in my next episode of the series. So these 2 challenges which I am facing now in AI generation as of now, can you please highlight on the same, sir?
I'll keep it short. What you're saying is possible. Both the key aspects. Like Venkat said in the beginning, happy to connect with you all afterwards, but absolutely possible. Okay, too many slides. Let's see a few things in action. Okay, so per se, Google Cloud is the technical arm of Google, but then we're trying to solve for this generative media, content generation, etc., via simple interfaces. We launched something called as the Media Studio, which is what I used across the board for different types of content, whether it's generating images, editing images, so on and so forth. Audio, which is music, you're given an input of what kind of music you need, generates that. Audio is voiceovers, multiple languages, multiple voices. You could use your own voice as well, or some ambassador that you have, replicate that voice, that could be done as well. Music we spoke of, video, of course, all of you are aware, right? So, complete suite of things for creators, content, creatives, etc., etc., etc. Let's start with a few examples, right? I'm going to start with maybe an image example. I just tap onto image, and I just given a small input out here. Let me show this. And pardon for my creativity, a black cat in India. I don't know what that means, but I'm sorry. That's the best I could come up with, right? That's all that I given. Let's see what happens. One image, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Right? Few seconds, I'm up and running with this, get an output. obviously there's that challenge where as humans, and Venkat alluded to this, you all will be aware as well, it's always that scenario, right? What you take in is what comes out, regardless of whatever it is that we talk about, right? Data in, data out. I shout at my wife, she shouts at me, so on and so forth, right? So anyway, that's the whole process always that happens. Now, as I talk about that, what you give as your prompt is really what guides what the output is, right? Now, maybe a lot of us might not be really good at prompting, right? Perhaps we don't know. Of course, we could learn that. That's one aspect of things. But the other that can be done is the same prompt that I given there, which is a black cat in India. I could just enhance that prompt by itself to make it better so that the output is much better. So, again, this is multimodality, the language models where I'm asking it to now take a smaller prompt, enhance it. It did that for me. And then I replace this. Obviously, I hit enter. It will give me the images again. But then from what we saw to the left, which was these examples, with the enhanced prompt, I got a few more examples in a market-like area and so on and so forth, right? So as you keep giving your inputs, the output changes. What I'll do is maybe take an idea from you all right now. Let's see if you want to see something as an image. I'll run it, and of course, we'll jump to other things while it generates. An Indian astronaut in space. Let's do this. I'll do two ways. One, of course, we'll just give this as a prompt. And of course, I can choose, by the way, my aspect ratios, right? Whether it's 1:1, 16:9, 4:3, 3:4, and so on and so forth. I'll just choose 16:9, hit space. We'll try a prompt enhancer here to see the difference if there's any. Perfect, this is done. Great, so while this is happening, it'll take a few seconds and it didn't take too many seconds, oh shit. I thought it's gonna take a few more seconds, but hi, so just that input, gotten these outputs. Person looks Indian. There's a flag of India as well. I don't know what this looks like. I might assume G20, I don't know. But perhaps, yeah, that came out. Let's see what the prompt enhancer did. Give me something slightly different. Again, what I give is my text. Maybe if I described it better, what I want to see, it would give me a better output. No doubt this is good, but to what I really want it to be, right? So that's where you could just generate images in a jiffy. Obviously, one of the bigger challenges that we've seen typically people talk about is, hey, lovely, you can generate new images, new content, new people, and so on and so forth. But what if, I'm an organization, a startup, I already have existing, maybe let's say products. Maybe, I sell a pair of jeans or shoes or any other product for that matter. Or I perhaps have, let's say, models that I already use across my assets, right? Whether it's images, videos, and so on and so forth. Traditionally, that was limited where you couldn't use existing assets and create something new. It was all left to what you wanted to create, generate new. What you could do as well now is a small little CTA here to the right. I don't know if you all can see it. Add reference. And I just say, hey, I have an existing product. That product is this. Utilize that to create the image. So I might say, hey, I have a shoes. Put it on a luxury shoe store. People around looking at the shoe. So it picks up the exact same shoe, puts it in a different setting, right? Or I could do a person. So I could put in my image and say, hey, I've gone ahead to maybe Bali, to Paris, so on and so forth. It would replicate exactly me, put me in a different scenario. That is a person. So same thing could be animal, could be style. So using existing assets and generating new ones on top of it, ensuring fidelity. That's a major important aspect that we're seeing change as well come in. So that's your images, and we'll go through a few more flows on this. But let's take a video scenario, right? Again, I don't know why I have a thing for black cats, but a sleek black cat with some green eye lounges across a bustling Indian marketplace. Let's see this. So this is a cat. This is a video, not really just an image anymore, right? So it just generated that video. And I'm actually blown away, right? You see the cat's breathing as well. And as that's happening, you see this part where it's moving just as though someone real is actually breathing, right? Obviously, multiple more examples here. It'll keep happening as we want it to be. What you give as an input comes in as an output. High fidelity, we're coming very closer to replicating what we see as humans. So the physics part of things is taken care of really well. Let's try to create a video. Now, what do you want to create a video for? My thing for cats, your thing for astronauts. I don't know, Ayush. You know, as when you would create content, you'd start with, of course, a storyboard and so on and so forth. Then maybe you create an image. From that image, you'd ideally create a video. That's the next step, right? Perhaps you videofy or animate an image that you have, right? So that's the same workflow that we adopt here. So I have the image here. To the right, of course, I could do multiple things, right? One, I could have just gone ahead, generated a video out of this as the image. We'll see it in action. Or I can remove parts of the image, people in the image, things in the image, or add new things. That is in painting. Out painting is, this was a landscape size image. I want to put it down to a portrait or various other sizes. I could do an out painting or upscaling, any of those, right? Let's see a simple part of just generating the video. I have this image. This is the one that I've selected. I just say generate video. I keep my aspect ratio the same, 16:9. I say 4 results, 8 seconds is what I want the video to be. I can give a prompt, or I can choose to ignore it as well. So if I give a prompt, it does what I want it to do. If I don't, it's probably figuring out from the image what should be the actual video that's going to come out. Could go right, could go wrong, but let's see what comes out of it. So that's your part of the video. It'll take a few seconds. Let's give it the video of the astronaut in space is in here. Let's take a few examples and see. Maybe it's trying to let the cat free. We had 4 examples. Of course, just a simple basic prompt. I got some outputs. Second one, let's look at the third one. A lot of thought. And this one's interesting. But yeah, so, you know, what did it take? Like, small prompt with Ayush's in mind, amazing imagination and creativity. And it gave me something in what, like 60 to 90 seconds. That's what we got as an output. Parallelly, of course, this is going to take a bit to generate. So this is on the, wow, this is fast, okay. So this was the image that we gave in. Just a little slight movement. I didn't give any prompt. Let's see what the other 3 examples, if there's some more things happening. Yeah, okay, little movement. Oh, a lot of movement, yes. Figure out something. Now let's just say, and randomly again, a spaceship crosses by. We'll come back to it. Let's just go through the flows. This is happening. The same thing could be, you know, we spoke about some applications in the gaming side of the world, right? So maybe you create non-playing gaming characters. Again, I started off with something really small as a prompt. I just said, hey, a virtual world for gaming, and then it enhanced it to something like this and gave me, a character and gave me an output like this, right? So these could be characters, it could be symbols, icons, logos, whatever you can think of, you get as an output. So that's, you know, use cases somewhere on the NPC side, gaming side of the world. It could move on to maybe creating virtual worlds as well, right? Let's just say I want a virtual world for a video game, and I just say nature-based, right? I don't know what even that means, but let's say this is what I give in. I'll use a handy prompt enhancer to make this better. I'm not going to proofread it as it happens. I just say replace. I'll keep it 4:3 this time and generate the content. Let it keep happening. While this happened, let's go through a few more examples then, right? So we've seen images, we've seen videos. Let's do a little more of audio as well, if that makes sense. Again, multiple languages, multiple voices. Key in input, you generate the output. So let's just take a simple example. I'll just copy this text. 8 different voices from the right. I choose my language as English US to begin with. I have multiple voices that I could utilize. Or I could provide a sample of my own voice and then generate 8 in my voice, right? Sake of simplicity, let's just pick up one of the models here, female. I hit on enter, and okay, the audio works.
You can select from 8 default voices in the settings panel on the right.
Okay, lovely. Let's try to use language is English. Let's try to do this now with a male voice.
You can select from 8 default voices in the settings panel on the right.
Okay, so we could do this. Let's do this again. Translate to Hindi. Just picking this up as is. Let's do this, put it back here. I'll change the language now to Hindi. Let's pick up one of the voices again.
आप दाईं ओर स्थित सेटिंग पैनल में 8 डिफॉल्ट आवाजों में से चयन कर सकते हैं.
Let's probably try another male voice.
आप दाईं ओर स्थित सेटिंग पैनल में 8 डिफॉल्ट आवाजों में से चयन कर सकते हैं.
So essentially your audio or voiceover generation, which can be used for translation, dubbing, or just net new voiceovers for anything that you create. Again, sort of coming together with GenAI. Multilingual, multiple voices, one of course that we offer, or it could be where you could use your own voice and create those audios as well, right? Of course, today while I'm talking about things, I'm focusing on what Google does offer in this space. You all must be using a lot of things on the outside as well, but the fundamental concept remains the same, right? Multimodality, input, get an output, regardless of what you have as an input, text to video to audio to image, or vice versa, right? That's really the whole fundamental behind what we're talking about. We should come back somewhere here. Okay, so I'd said a virtual gaming world, nature-based, and it picked up something for me, right? I could have said animation style, cartoon style, and so on and so forth. It would build it up in that fashion. So adhering to what you give as an input, you get as an output exactly to the same part. Quickly coming back to one of the other videos, a spaceship process by, let's keep it as is. But now I could, once I've created the video, right? So I had an image, which you made a video after. Awesome, great, but now you need to add audio, right? So I'll just say, hey, add voiceover. And let's just say, where is my black cat? And let's keep it this way, and let's do English India. Okay, great, so it will keep working on the background. While that happens, yeah, we saw images, we saw videos, we saw audios, which is voiceover. Let's generate some music together. What do you want to listen to? Let's not confuse voice to music. Eurobeat. Okay, I idly need some more details, but let's see what comes out of this. I'll just have to take a quick one moment here. Okay, Eurobeat. Let that come in. While that comes in, we'll come back in here. This was the video. Ayush astronaut, but I want my cat
Where
back.
is my black cat?
Yeah, so we're trying to find my black cat. So you generate completely your workflow that you're talking about, right? And there's a spaceship coming by from the behind. There's no cat, there's a spaceship. Yeah, of course, that's the input that we gave in that. There's a spaceship to this, right? So yeah, complete workflow end to end. Start with an image, generate something net new, or add as a reference, generate something on top of it, make it into a video, make it into an audio, stitch all of it together, and you have things ready, right? Of course. While I do talk about this, one of the key considerations that you'll have to look into is the video length today would be limited to a few seconds, right? Depending on what you use. We probably do 5 to 8 seconds. That's the one single scene that you would be able to create. Multiple platforms in the world, there'll be different timings, but typically in the range of a few seconds. Now, as creators then, or as maybe startups, you could perhaps create workflows out of this, right? Which is starting from a simple prompt to all of this happening in the background, and you stitching videos together, stitching audio together. That becomes a use case that we could look at, right? So that's one key consideration. That's the generation aspect, one part, which is what we wanted to cover. Second bit, I could have done the storyboarding as well, right? And gone ahead using a text LLM. I just say a struggling Indian YouTube creator, and I've given it a role saying that, hey, you're a video producer, you're a storyboard creator, and so on and so forth. This is my input. It goes ahead, tells me what it's thinking, how it's thinking about what I've given as the task, and then gives me an output as well, which is a storyboard, right? That this video is about the struggling creator. This is what happens. There's this music that you need. And here are the scenes, multiple scenes, 5 of them. First one is on a laptop, late night, blah, blah, blah. There's a voiceover text to it, and so on and so forth for the rest of the scenes as well, right? So essentially, gone ahead, created storyboards. Obviously, what you're seeing all today is things that I'm just giving it as an input and coming as an output, right? Ideally, what you would do is have your prompts set up really well. Have your instructions here and the roles for the LLM set up really well. That's what we as humans should be doing. That's where the augmentation comes into picture. So I did this. Similar to the prompt enhancer that you saw on the console, again, I've just built a similar one, which takes an input, a black cat in India, and it goes ahead, gives me a complete new prompt to give as the image input to create my image. So that could be other examples, where you're putting in text, generating storyboards, scripts, visualization, so on and so forth. What you could also do is, if I have it ready, okay, I just gave this image and saying you're an image analyst, and I gave something wrong, attach video and be a critique of it. So it went ahead, it could process the image for me. So it tells me that, hey, this is the subject, which is sleek black cat. Wow, luminous green eyes, that's what I said. Gave me that subject, gave me the setting completely, the entire composition, the lens, the focus, depth of field, so on and so forth, lighting, color, all of it, right? Gave me complete details of what it is. I said be a critique, given me strengths as well, what works, and then some aspects which I can improve, right? The foreground details, central placement, and an assessment out of it, right? So that's multimodality. You put in an image, an audio, a video, ask it to summarize, ask it to find highlights for you. Probably you can give, let's say, a 90-minute football match and say, with the right prompts, of course, and the right instructions, say, find out 20 clips that I can put in my highlights so that the video is now 8 minutes long as a highlight, right? So that's what you could do as well additionally, which is content or multimodality inputs and outputs that we're speaking of. Okay, so that's the media studio for media entertainment, broadcasting, for gaming. Think it, do it. Important aspect, of course, your prompts, your instructions, and the outputs. This is what we offer as a capability. Of course, multiple platforms across the globe can do it, but then the aspects around the physics part of it, fidelity, hands not having 7 fingers, being more real is what we really look at here. That's where we've had a state-of-the-art models, one. Second, I think there was that question as well, right? I think, so you asked that question, right? Copyright issues, right? Anyone could come in and say, hey, this is my image, this is my video, and so on and so forth. So if you see, there's something called as the synth ID detected on the top right. So any content that is generated, whether it's a video or the image or whatever we spoke of, there's an invisible watermark that we attach to it, which helps Google identify it's Google AI generated. And then we offer unlimited indemnity from any sorts of legal issues that come in. Right? So that's taken care of, and that's what helps organizations, enterprises adopt this. Because of the indemnification aspect that we're speaking of as well. Right? So that's one of the answers to your questions that you asked earlier. Google takes responsibility of it completely end to end. As long as any content that's generated has that synth ID because we identify it that way, we take care as Google responsibility of all the copyright, legal liabilities. So it's an unlimited indemnification that we take care of. Let's see a small example in action, right? This is what I was trying to just build as a demo. If the internet works, is it? Okay, it is working. So you saw that interface where things were where I was creating inputs and getting outputs. But this could be an example of how all of this can come together, right? So let's just say 8-second clips from these images individually. And then finally, I just say, hey, edit final video, add the voiceover, good to go. So essentially what I'm doing here now is with the APIs in the background, I've built out a complete workflow, which is sort of the opportunity that we're talking about for maybe startups in this room who are in there or organizations. Because we provide that technology, which is the foundational LLMs, you build on top of it, right? That's really what we're talking about here. I hope that answers your question. Okay, we're right about at time. I'll come back in here. We saw a few things in action. What did we see? I'm going to quickly summarize. We give names to all our models, of course. The image generation model is called Imagine. The video generation model is called Veo. We're at Veo 2 and at Imagine 3. Soon there will be multiple more versions. The audio, the music model is Lyria. And Chirp is the voiceover voices model. Underlying the textual multimodal model that we spoke of, which we saw as when I was giving some prompts, images, inputs, and so on and so forth, that's Gemini, and we're at 2.5 Pro, which is one of the latest models that we have, right? So that's the suite of generative media from Google. Use it as is on the console, or you build out wrappers, products on top of it to solve for that end-to-end use case. Choice is yours. Quickly summarizing though, it's not about replacing the entire workflows, it's about augmenting. That's where really humans come into picture. Fast track your processes, make things faster, make things better, reduce the cost. Of course, your expertise lies in how you could go ahead and build strategic direction, more creativity, rather than doing multiple mundane tasks. And the idea really is how do you prompt well, refine it well, integrate all together. And that's really where we see generative media or AI coming into picture in the creative workflow that we spoke of. Exciting part, right? What I showed to all of you all, the Google Cloud interface, what we're doing is as a part of this program, skill boosting for AI, all startups in this room primarily, we're offering $3,000 of credits for you to try this, build out workflows, use it for your use cases, and however you want to do it. You all signed up outside, you should receive an email of how to access these credits, what's needed, and so on and so forth. But all that we saw is something that you can play around with, get into action, or maybe build something, completely up to you, right? So that's the exciting part. And finally, another quick AI generated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next is Nikita Garg, the business development consultant of Google. Come on, Nikita. Let's bring her up to the stage. Guys, give it up for Nikita.
So while we start, I'm sure there has been a lot of insights shared by Rajat and Venkat. But before I start, I would like to say I feel really fantastic to be in a room full of visionaries and creators. Mind me, you are the lifeblood of the media and entertainment world. Thanks Rajat and Venkat for sharing such amazing insights onto how to create the content. So before we move ahead, I would like to close the journey by helping you reach the last mile. You know what the last mile of your journey is? Can anybody take a random guess? Come on guys, what would be the last mile of your journey? Publishing, promotion. What would your content do without reaching to the right audience, right? So here I am here to help you reach the right audience while for the amazingly created content. Before I go ahead, I'll just like to introduce myself. I am Nikita Garg from the Google Ads acquisition team, and believe me, we are your allies in your starting up journey. So, in a world where every view counts, we are here to explore how media marketing is changing. I'm sure all of you are battling multiple hats at the same time, right? Or even fighting the tight deadlines, but at the same time, you're also striving to reach and stand out in the crowded space. We hear that's a demanding journey, isn't it? Is it or is it not? Can I have some responses? If it is not, then I'm really happy for you if you do not have a demanding journey, believe me. So while we move ahead, we've seen that how AI's evolution is taking us from an efficient marketing to a future-powered, AI-powered marketing engines, you know, which is helping us change onto three major aspects, that is personalization, content creation, and measurement. So every study and every business, I'm sure all of you would also be saying that consumer journeys are no longer singular. They are very unpredictable. That's what Rajat and Venkat were also highlighting to us. But today's consumer, just like you and me, is switching between 4 seamless behaviors. Can anybody take a guess what would your 4 seamless behaviors be as a consumer? Maybe one. What do you do throughout the day? What's your usual pattern? Watch videos on YouTube. Any other? Doom scroll. Okay. Another? Upskill. Is nobody doing anything throughout the day? Google Maps. Okay. To help you sum it up, I'll categorize it into 4 categories. That is streaming, scrolling, searching, and shopping. Does that sound like us? Yes, that's we, the consumers of today. So, before we move ahead, I'll share an interesting insight with you. 35% of the consumers, as per a study, would switch to another brand upon mere a second exposure of an ad. Does that sound really difficult to navigate through? Do you know how can you help and navigate through this clutter? Does this sound really overwhelming? I think I'm asking too many questions for people to respond. Is it? Sorry? You'll ask the AI to answer. Yes, that could be the one way. But right now I'm asking the humans here to help me answer this. Does this sound really difficult for you to navigate through? Are you facing any such challenges currently? Okay, I'll answer on your behalf. Yes, most of us are. And if you aren't, I'm really happy for you. So, to help you with all the heavy lifting and the future of marketing is AI-powered campaigns. We do not deny the fact that a great creative and human touch is the real reward for any great campaign. But also, let Google AI do all the heavy lifting for you and help multiply on your creative aspects and reaching the right audiences across different platforms that they're searching. So, another example that I would like to share with you is that second screen concept is no longer a passive screen. We as users are as active on a passive screen as we are on the first screen. So, we are here to help you take action. Google AI can help you reach all your audiences in all the crucial moments across all the platforms, from awareness to loyalty. Let's take few examples. For example, if you would want to increase the viewership for one of your content pieces on YouTube, we have you covered. In case you would want to reach the right businesses or consumers depending upon your business model, we have you covered. In case you would want to increase the subscriptions for your business maybe, we have you covered. So we have you covered from all the aspects. But to all the founders today and all the product managers today here in the room, I know that you are the visionaries, you are the growth engine. But let Google AI be an enabler for you. Trust the partner and help them create and multiply into your efforts. So before I wrap it up, I know there are multiple parameters to your journey of starting up. I would just like to introduce me and my team here. What do we do exactly and what do we help you here with is that we are the new business sales team in Google Ads. We are the media and entertainment specialist. We help you run a high-touch program that helps you with the Google Ads expertise, insights, and helping you reach in the right audiences. I'm sure there is more that you would want to unlock, but I wouldn't want to bother you right now, as there's been a lot more insights that have been shared by you, by Rajat, Venkat, and me. So here, we are leaving you with a thought where you, in case you would want to connect with us, please feel free to catch me, Bhavika, all around waves. We are here to help you around. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we feel really good to have you with us. Over to you, Ayush.
Thank you so much. And with this, we are not ending it here. We are going to be opening the ground for the questions. So if anyone has any question, now is the time to put forth. Anyone?
So I'm Anshul Joshi. I've just gotten into AI filmmaking for the past year. It's really exciting. My question was regarding, firstly, the demo that you had shown, that you said you had put together in 45 minutes. Was that edited together also? Like, how did you edit it together? Because right now, the platform only generates the content. And the second thing was, your platform is called Media Studio. Is it available for the general Google AI user? Because VO2 and Imagine also weren't available in India for the longest time. I'm not sure whether they still are. Those are my two questions.
The Google Cloud Platform, under that there's Media Studio. Post the event, we'll send out instructions of how you could access it, along with that $3,000 credit That's one part of it. That's the second part of your question. The former, I just use a simple video editor in a Python script. It just stitched 8 seconds together, and that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Next question, please. Anyone else?
So my question is like, Venkat talked about iteration process, right? So can the generated images, can you pick one image and do iterations over that image? Like if I want a particular tree in that image, 4 meters to the right, or I want to add a few frogs in that image, butterflies, like that. The sun to the
We saw that it depends on what you want to do, but then while I was showing the interface as well, right, I showed you aspects where you could in Paint add or remove aspects, so you could use the existing image as a reference and build on top of it. That should solve for it, dependent on how much and what you want. That's one. And second, like Venkat again mentioned, right, you can build up your abstractions on top of it, and that's really where we all as startup founders could leverage the underlying tech and the foundational models to solve for these end-to-end use cases.
I'm a user of a Google Workspace, and I'm using Vue 2. And I found that there's as just the last speaker talked about marketing, right? But I find a missing link between these services that while I'm a content creator, but I also doing up to the last moment to the distribution of the PR stuff. But when I see the analysis, it's not linking to the prompt. I'm creating the content, right? But do you have some way of doing like a prompting that because of the marketing content and then I feed back to my content?
That's a brilliant question, actually. Those are the things that are possible now, right? Those are independent siloed activities, right? You can actually, based on what is available, you can change dynamically. Let's take an example of images. Based on the audio that is played, can you actually dynamically generate images? Currently, you saw there is latency, but this is substantially different from what it was available 1 year back, right? The efficiency gains are going to keep continuing.
Yeah, but my thinking is that what is Google Analyst doing is just feedback to the content I create and then can do it automatically and then to change something.
You mean in terms of the ads experience? Or
Yeah,
you run
yes,
an ads
yes.
campaign?
Sorry.
So the question?
One, of course, there'll be some parts that come on the ad platforms and so on, the other places. But ideally, this is where the opportunities, in our view, lies, which is startups, companies, enterprises build this on top of the foundational technology, where you let's say have a product or it's an agent that you build up, and that's where agentic AI is coming into picture, right? You build an agent which churns your data, let's say every few hours, automatically creates the top cohorts of what's working, not working. For each of those cohorts, creates what your image content or video content or the ad content should look like, and then you distribute. Right? So, per se, it's an opportunity for you all to build this as a workflow rather than it being completely automated. Some parts of it, perhaps potentially, Google should do some parts, but it's all the onus on us as individuals, organizations, startups to build.
Okay, that means there's no these kind of like logistic or logic.
And nothing out of the box.
Yeah, okay.
We build these with customers. We help customers build these use cases.
Okay.
But you use the foundational models and you write code, stitch all of together.
Yeah, I
build your
see
agents.
there's what's called API implication, so I can do it and then put it back to. Okay.
Usually when I need to use the AI, I use it for ideating, especially for any game ideas. I can also generate any concept images and also concept videos to explain to my team or to get feedback from the public on any consumers on games. Whenever I post it on YouTube or on Reddit, let's say, some people, especially on YouTube, they tend to say it's copyrighted and all those things. Whenever if I generate it through Google Gemini and if I post it on YouTube, what are the conditions where don't get copyrighted for that? And also, how much deep can I generate the ideation comparatively so that I don't get any lawsuits, let's say by Nintendo saying it's somewhat similar to our concepts, because AI is trained on all the models available on Google search. So,
okay. Fundamentally, there's multiple offerings from Google if you look at it, right? One, Gemini, which you called out. Again, there's a Gemini suite of models, or there's the Gemini consumer app, which is the consumer-facing app. Then there's Google Cloud that we looked at, which is where enterprises utilize the platform. Consumer side, again, there's nothing that we take care of. But as Google Cloud, being an enterprise platform, the content that you generate out of this is, like I was saying in the beginning or through the discussion, that we take care of the liabilities of AI-generated content from our platform.
सर एक चीज़ पूछना था कि जैसे मान लीजिए हमारी शॉर्ट फिल्म है, अब हम उसमें सब टाइटलिंग करना चाहते हैं भारत की अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस में, तो क्या पॉसिबल है कि जो स्क्रिप्ट हिंदी में लिखी हुई है उस स्क्रिप्ट को भारत की अलग अलग जो लैंग्वेज है जैसे तमिल हो गई या मलयालम हो गई उसमें हम सब टाइटलिंग करें, तो क्या पॉसिबल है उसमें?
So the question was, the video is in Tamil, but can the subtitles be in, let's say, Korean or Chinese or something else, completely different languages? बहुत easily कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि अभी आपके पास 2 different APIs हैं. अभी जो रजत ने दिखाया उसमें इनबिल्ट नहीं है, लेकिन जैसे आप देखेंगे इवॉल्व होगा ये प्रोडक्ट, बहुत सारे कैपेबिलिटीज आ जाएंगे. क्योंकि अब उसकी देखिए, आप अगर स्टार्टअप हैं जो ये करना चाहते हैं इंडियन कंज्यूमर्स के लिए, मैं तमिल में हूँ, ठीक है, मैं तमिल में क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ, लेट्स से रसम बनाना है आपको, ठीक है, आपको मैं तमिल में इंस्ट्रक्शन दे रहा हूँ, इंग्लिश में नहीं है, हिंदी में नहीं, तो आप कैसे करेंगे? तो आप 2 API ट्रांसलेट ला लीजिए और वीडियो जो वर्टेक्स का API वो यूज़ करके भी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन थोड़े दिनों में शायद ये बिल्ड हो जाएगा in terms of possibility. So in terms of English, currently you can approach this in multiple ways. You can take the translate APIs, choose your input languages and output and caption it. I feel the way technology is changing, dynamic captioning is just around the corner. Right? There are already some startups who are doing dynamic captioning for some of the products.